So, this first video, alright, is all about, the first section of it at least, is all about ethical decision making. So, the first thing that you could be asked is about what makes an act wrong, okay? Now, there's lots of different things you can say about this, but start off with sort of some of the core ones. So, number one, it goes against God's teachings, alright? Breaks the 10 Commandments, maybe. It goes against Jesus' teachings, alright? You can say about how he taught us to love thy neighbour, and when he hurt others, or whatever, that makes an action wrong. You can also say that it goes against the teachings of the church. So, for example, the church saying about how abortion is wrong, maybe a thing that if we go against the church teaching, IVF would be another one, or gay marriage. If we go against that, then that action is wrong as well. You can also say that an action that goes against our conscience, all right, because that's God's law within us, that would be wrong as well, okay? And the reason for that is that we feel guilt, you can say, link at that idea. You might want to mention about how the fact that when we do something wrong, that it is a sin. So something that is what's called what makes an act wrong, it is that it becomes a sin, okay? So it goes against God once again. You could also say again, that it goes against the natural law, okay? Or you could say against that it breaks the law in the country. That would make an action wrong as well. Now, when it comes to deciding what is right and what is wrong, okay, so ethical decision, how Catholics make decisions, right, you need to remember sort of two key things here, okay? Absolutism and relativism. Absolutism is the action itself is always right or wrong. Relativism is you have to consider the situation and the consequences, all right? So, killing Hitler before when he took over Germany. Well, if you took an absolute approach, you would say that's always wrong. You can't kill him, okay? The action of murder is wrong. However, if you took a relative approach, you might think, well, if you did that, it would mean that millions of lives would be saved. I mean, maybe the world would be a better place. That type of thing, okay? They don't have to be total opposites, all right? But that's sort of the idea. Now, when it comes to sort of Catholic views, number one, they take an absolutist approach. They believe this action is right or wrong, okay? So there we go. So that's the biggest thing, all right? God determines what is right and wrong is the action, okay? Second point, Catholics support divine command theory. So they believe what God has commanded is right and wrong, and you can link that to the 10 Commandments. The third point you can say is that Catholics believe in natural moral law. Now, this is the idea that when God created the world, he stitched his law within it, okay? So that when we do something wrong, all right, it breaks that law. So, for example, you could say about when we greenhouse gases, that type of thing, okay, or CO2 emissions, that you can say that those actions are wrong, all right, that we shouldn't be overusing those things, and the natural moral law reacts to them about the fact that you can say that the environment is damaged. It's not the world's greatest example, but I'm trying to simplify it for you as much as I can. What else? Catholics believe it was called that they reject a relativist what's called approach, all right, and so therefore they would reject things like situation ethics, and they don't believe you should consider the consequences when it comes to it. It's the action itself. You could say that Catholics should use their conscience when it comes to ethical decision making. All right, God's law within us there to help us make right decisions. You can say Catholics can follow teachings of the Bible to decide how to make a decision. Okay, because that is the biggest what's called source of wisdom and authority. Finally, many Catholics believe in something called virtue ethics. This is the belief that we're not going to be judged on our actions, doing one action like that. We will be it'll be decided sort of how we've led our lives on our actions as a whole, okay? So it's the idea that we've been made in the image and likeness of God, and that's a journey to try and be more like God, okay? So throughout our lives, we should try and make decisions that make us more like God, that are good, that are not sinful, that are not wrong, all right? And we will be judged upon how well we've done on that journey. So that's the Catholic approach to ethical decision making. When it comes to sort of the Jewish approach, all right, it's essentially it's exactly the same, okay? That they take an absolute approach, that they believe in natural moral law, divine command theory, okay? Obviously, be careful with the language. It says in Bible, say Torah, and talk about sort of the that's about it, really. Talk about, link it to those sort of examples, right? Now, or those sort of that, the idea of absolutism, natural moral law, rejecting relativism, that kind of thing. If it's non-religious views about what is right or wrong, you can link this to the idea of the law. The law decides what's right or wrong. Non-religious people also believe that you should follow your conscience, okay, because it's there. Another thing sort of decides right and wrong, you can follow your family values, okay, that helps you decide what's right and wrong. You could say about you follow society's what's called values, they tell you what is right and wrong. Okay, so that concludes the video on ethical decision making. Very short summary, but it's a tough